Welcome everyone. Happy International Women's Day. There is no limit to what we as women can accomplish. Women can achieve so much, and not only are we motivated to attain our own goals, but also to inspire others to succeed. There is no challenge too great for us to overcome if we try. Today we celebrating International Women's Day and how women have risen to the challenges of the last year. I would like to welcome our chief guest for today, Lord Ramy Ranger. Ramy Ranger is the founder of Sunmark, an international marketing and distribution company, 6 times for business and twice personally for community services, and was made a member of the British Empire in 2015. In 2005, and commander of the British Empire in 2016. He is also the chairman and managing director of Sea Air and Land Forwarding Limited. His company, Sunmark Limited, has received from Her Majesty the Queen the Queen's Award for Enterprises for an unprecedented 5 conservative years in 2009, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And in the process made British business history, as no other company has received this kind of award. Sunmark has been added to the Sunday Times most profitable 100 companies in Britain in their profit track 100 legacy table for the past 3 years running. Ramy won the prestigious Institute of the Director of the Year Award for 2013 and European Export Chairmanship in 2014. He was nominated for a life peerage and a seat in the House of Lords in Theresa May's resignation honors. Welcome, Ramy Ranger. I would like for you to share some valuable words with us.
Thank you, Praveen. Thank you, Praveen, for inviting me to this.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. You can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible to us.
Yeah.
Okay, you can hear me, so that's fine.
I can't see. I can't hear you. Your voice is not coming. Yeah.
Sorry? Can anybody see me?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can see and hear you.
Sir, I can't hear you. Still, I can't hear you.
We can hear you and we can see you as well.
Anyway, shall I carry on? This is very strange.
I can't hear you. Your voice is not coming.
I think there is something wrong with
Gail,
you.
can you hear?
Yeah, we can all hear him.
You can hear?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I can hear you now. Yes. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, very good, very good. I'm relieved. I'm relieved. Otherwise, anyway, first of all, I would like to thank Praveen Rani for inviting me to this important webinar. This important webinar for very important reason for me, because I am a single parent child. My father, my mother, my friend was my mother. Everything was my mother, and she brought 8 of us up through immense difficulties because her husband was assassinated during the partition of India for opposing the breakup of India. Our father was a visionary. He could foretell the consequences of religious disharmony. But unfortunately, some student of DAV school, Multan, took out a procession against the division of India and got caught in communal riots. Our father, being community leader, went to save them. He managed to save the student, but lost his own life for Hindu-Muslim unity in India. So we arrived on a refugee train into a refugee camp in a place called Patiala in Punjab. So my life started 20 days old, with no father, lost our ancestor home, in our community, country, and breadwinner. Excuse me. So this is how my life started at the time of turmoil in India. But thankfully, our mother was a remarkable woman, and this is what I want to tell you, the strength of women. She rose to the challenge, even though her family requested her to give children away to orphanage. You won't be able to cope. You're only 35 years old with 8 children in a strange country, no wealth, no husband to support you. But she said, no, no matter what fate had thrown at us, we will accept. We will not give up, we will not give in. And luckily, she was educated. So this is why empowerment of women is a prerequisite for a civil society. No country can move forward while leaving their women behind, because women are a force, very, very important force. So my mother uh, worked as a teacher and brought us up through immense difficulty. 5 of her sons became commissioned officer in the Indian Army, and she was given the proudest Indian mother title by Tribune newspaper. As you heard, I came to this country in 1971 to study law, but those days were very difficult for immigrants. There was no money for me to continue my study, and I took a job, but small job, and from there I worked hard because my mother's values shaped my character. Mothers are the architect of their children. Our next generation depends on women. What women cannot experience themselves, they cannot impart to their children. Besides, you have to understand that if a husband dies prematurely, like my father did, he will leave behind a woman unable to deal with his caring word, and mother unable to look after his children. So therefore, empowerment of women is very, very important, because if you just imagine, if you have an empowered woman, educated wife, she can go out to work like my wife did. We had 2 incomes, fewer children, as compared to someone with 1 income, more children, because wife at home can have more children. Now, because of my wife, we were able to give the best education to our children. One of my daughter will become member of parliament. She's a councillor, and she received OBE from the Queen for her work of empowering women. My second daughter is a gold medalist doctor and a hematologist and married to an orthopedic surgeon. And my third daughter is a scholarship holder from LSE. That just shows when you have 2 income coming and women are educated, enlightened, they can shape the character and future of their children. Fathers are always away. Most of the time, I was working, and if I had to watch my back, I could not watch my front. So whatever I am today, it is because of my mother and my wife, and of course, the help of my staff. We are very fortunate. I am very fortunate, you're fortunate that we come from a country where equality for women is enshrined in the Constitution. In India, women are equal by law, and they have been prime minister, they're ministers, they're governors, they're in the army, they're fighter pilot, they're airline pilot, they're doctors, engineers, scientists. You might have seen the mission to Mars led by Indian women in NASA. That just shows the power of women. Women can achieve much more than men can ever do. They are not equal to men, they are superior to men because they can bear children. In the word of Guru Nanak, why consider someone inferior who bears prophet and kings? So therefore, it is very, very important that events like this celebrate the contribution of women in enriching our lives. If you don't celebrate, then nobody else will. So you as a woman have a responsibility to champion your own cause. So my request to you is that you must connect with political masters, become decision maker, join political parties, and be the change you want to see, as Mahatma Gandhi said. And I can't give you I cannot stress enough that if my mother was not empowered by my father, I would be probably cleaning some shoes at a railway station in India. And this time I came to this country, as you heard, I've been honored by the Queen on 8 occasions. That's a record. Only because my mother instilled 5 important principles in my life, and she couldn't give us wealth because she was a refugee herself as a teacher, but she gave us the values, and her value was that, son, you must have self-respect. Without self-respect, you will cut corner, you let people down, you will not enjoy respect. So preserve your respect. Respect is within yourself. With your action and deed, you'll get respect. You must show commitment. No matter how less educated you are, but as long as you can show commitment to your cause, you will succeed. You have to have ethics. You cannot cut corner. You cannot let people down. Your supplier, your customer, and your staff, you have to treat them with ethics. In my company, we have a motto: we only succeed when our customers succeed. So we work for their success, which in turn becomes our success. As a result, we are today, I started my business with just £2 capital from a shed. We are now in 130 countries. You have to have a vision. Without vision, you're headless chicken, unable to find your destination. So you've got to have some aims and goals, and then you have to work toward them. And finally, you have to have empathy. You have to empathize with people. How you want to be treated, you must treat them. So therefore, all these 5 qualities made me what I am. I have no father, no elite education, no family wealth, and no old school boy network. The value system is very important. And today, India is now, because of her values, is becoming a force for good in the world. Even in the COVID pandemic, India is playing a very important role in fighting against COVID. And finally, I can tell you, there is a saying that behind every successful man, there is a woman. And behind every unsuccessful man, there are 2. But in my case, there were 3. My mother, my wife, and the Prime Minister Theresa May, who made me a lord. So therefore, that is the power of women. So I salute you all. I send you my very best wishes that wherever you are, celebrate your life. You are so special. Without you, there'll be no world at all. We'll be nothing. You bring so much joy, happiness as a mother, daughter, sisters, friends to the lives of so many people. So it's about time we celebrate your contribution in enriching our world. So on that note, I wish you a very happy Women's Day. May you continue to shine, and may you with your beauty, with your charm, with your sense of dress, the world becomes so beautiful. Yes, otherwise it'll be very depressing place. So on that note, please accept my thank you to the contribution you make, and God bless you all.
Thank you so much for your valuable words, Ramiji. Well said. We surely did learn from it. So moving on, our first speaker for today, Dr. Devi Subramanian. Dr. Devi Subramanian has been a consultant in obstetrics and fetal medicine at King George College Hospital since 2008. Devi was awarded the membership of Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists in 2002 and the fellowship in 2014. Welcome, Dr. Devi. I'm humbled to have you here. Please share your speech with us.
Thank you very much. And a very, very happy Women's Day to all of you and the rest of the world. And thank you for the kind words of introduction and for inviting me to speak on this most important day, where we are celebrating women in different walks of life all over the world. I'll start by saying I'm the most proudest when I say I'm a woman and a woman leader. I wanted to talk today about my own reflections on women in leadership roles, the challenges they face, and how they overcome this, and, and have achieved great success in their personal and professional lives. I'm a clinician by profession, yet my career has involved holding many leadership roles. I've often reflected if the leadership skills that I possess by way of experience and observation of peers is sufficient to meet the future challenges that I may face. How can I be assured that I'm moving in the right direction and whilst enabling my organization and team to move along? Do I lead like a woman or lead whilst being a woman? There are no easy answers to these questions, and seeking these is a journey in itself, which has helped me become an astute listener, a keen observer, and learner. I realize that the knowledge so acquired has come by way of unstructured learning. And so I arm myself for the necessary skills by attending many structured leadership development programs. I don't think there are things that I do particularly well just because I'm a woman. And neither do I think that leadership qualities are gender specific. Rationalizing these and developing practical approaches to being a leader while being a woman or because of being a woman is interesting. As a senior leader, I come across several instances of women letting go, or rather than pushing on. I wonder if this is due to inherent qualities of women or whether leadership is so daunting to us or made to look daunting. Exploring all of these takes women from all walks of life to come together, like today, to discuss and reflect on our own experiences while finding a way of demystifying leadership. As a clinician, I can take clinical decisions comfortably and confidently and quickly, while as a leader, that process is more complex, as the impact would be emotional to my workforce. This needs a humane angle, and learning to deal with that is not taught when one takes on a leadership role. Challenges that women face are sometimes unique to their gender, trying to achieve a work-life balance while being a parent, multitasking, and juggling many responsibilities can take its toll. Women are underrepresented. Women are underrepresented in top jobs, constantly under pressure to conform to male leadership model. It is important to use the unique strength that women possess in abundance, like emotional intelligence, compassion, creativity, empathy, and skills of collaboration in everyday approach to overcome obstacles. It's the absolute responsibility of society to boost their confidence and enhance their performance in a predominantly male-dominated world, and also to identify and nurture future women leaders. It is very difficult and takes a long time for a woman to prove herself in order to reach the top. I know this more than most people. And we see many examples of this every day. America is yet to elect a woman to lead the country, yet others have been more progressive, as the Lord said just now, such as in India and United Kingdom. Women play a role in strengthening the caliber of talent that exists in society. Thanks to these skills, today we have many women world leaders. These leaders are at the forefront of building a gender equal society, and the world benefits from this. Women work hard to forge an inclusive work culture, creating an environment where there is no shortage of achievements to celebrate. Leaders are seen as role models, and so it's every leader's responsibility to mentor, aspire, and train future leaders. An empowering leader in any organization is someone who provides the confidence to the workforce, inspires them to achieve high, enables new ideas and innovations. This assures a successful and highly credible organization, and women leaders are able to do this with aplomb. I will end by repeating that I'm the most proudest of being a woman and a woman leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Devi ji, for such marvelous words. Now I would like to call our next speaker, which is Dr. Namita Lauer. Dr. Namita Rajput has served as a principal at Sri Aurobindo College, University in Delhi for a term of 3 years. With total teaching experience of 27 years, she has a PhD in international business, Delhi School of Economics, and a doctoral research fellowship program in finance from the Department of Financial Study. Welcome, Namita ji.
My greetings and my greetings and salutations to the organizers, and a very happy Women International Day. And today the topic which I have chosen on this pertinent day is about the changing global landscape as far as the women leadership is concerned in the corporate scenario. So I will be sharing my thoughts and experiences both. So women has been seen as an undermined gender, and she has always been on a receiving side, like right from her childhood till the time she's married, and over her experiences in the journey of life, she's never into a decisive role. I'm talking in general about the global landscape as well as in India. So globally, let me share some statistics with you, and then I will be sharing, a few suggestions that how we can push the women into a leadership role, and how the mileage of this aspect can be gained. Now, when you talk about the year before the pandemic, that is in the year 2019, the proportion of women in the senior management roles globally grew to 29%, and it is actually the highest number ever recorded. And if you talk about 2020, this percentage remains the same. So that means we are able to maintain this highest record ever as far as the global landscape is concerned. So the proportion of the women in the senior leadership, differs by the role. Women are always underrepresented, and she's mainly into the services like support services like administration, while men tend to be concentrated in the operations, profit and loss, and the research and development, all viewed critical as the critical experiences for CEO and the board level positions. So here lies a huge gap. That is, the role which she should have been is she's not represented in those particular categories. And if you talk about 2020, about 40% of the human resources directors are women, compared to 17%, of the chief marketing officers and 16% of the chief information officers. So I'll be sharing a few global statistics with you, which states about the proportion of the women in the senior leadership. It differs from the region to region. So if you talk about Africa, Eastern Europe, American country like North America, Asia Pacific, that is APAC, European Union, Latin America, etc. So if you see the overall percentage of the women leaders in the global corporate landscape, it is more or less around, touching the tip of 30%. But I would like to make a mention here that Africa and Latin America, they have shown the landmark increase as far as the global, mid-market companies and the senior positions, the leadership positions of the women is concerned. It is touching around 38%. So which is definitely a very welcome trend. And, why I'm stating these facts, because I would like to, read between the lines, and I would like to give my specific comments on this. So if you talk about the 2020 analysis of the Mercer of about 1,100 organizations across the globe, it is a kind of women in the leadership position is a kind of a leaky, pipeline, like wherein the executive position is held by only 23%. The senior managers are about 29%. The managerial level and the professional level is between 37 to 42%. And the support staff with a huge statistics of 47%. So this is my main observation, that women is always undermined as far as giving the key positions is concerned. And basically, when you talk about giving her the positions, it is always these support services. And since the women has her own special characteristics, like she's always taken as a weaker sex, number one. Number two, she's always perceived in a situation of caring and nurturing. Whereas if you talk about taking of the key positions are concerned, it takes a longer and a better period for the men rather than the females to attain that position, because that position or that role demands what? It demands decisiveness, assertiveness, and tough, which is basically just the opposite of the women nature. And more or less, if you talk about the few positions, like the women always say no, like 3 out of one women will always say no, I don't want this position. Why? Because she is always on a receiving side right from her childhood. Her upbringing is like this, that she's never given that kind of an exposure. She's never being empowered. I know many families wherein the females are always on a very bad situation, undermined situation. Their life is not considered at all as good, because I've been very closely working with these slum ladies. So for them, the health issues, their physical issues, their academic issues, they are always on the back end. First they will feed their male child, they will bother about their male child as far as the health issues and even the medical issues are concerned. So overall, because of this scenario, and what I would like to reiterate here is that all the women issues, all the problems, primarily they are they are emerging from the social issues, like of the particular stereotype of roles which the women has to play right from when she takes birth. She's confined to 4 walls. She's always, right from her childhood, the toys are different, the mentality of the parents is different. Like she will always be in a very cozy environment, wherein she's not allowed to move out. The kind of exposure the counterpart, that is the males, they get, the females are not given that. And as far as the corporate landscape is concerned, there's always a glass ceiling, that is after a particular level, say executive level. So I would like to point out here that for last, according to the international business report, last 20 years, the female has always been in a position of either the chief financial officer or just like the higher executive officer, but her role as far as the C-suite positions or the managing director positions, it is always very, very less. So this has to be, we cannot blame always the men. It is always, there are so many reasons, or a spectrum of reasons which is responsible for undermining her position. It's like she's never exposed to take decisions because of her soft nature. She's really confused when she joins the corporate sector. Like, I want to give you an example. Like there was a lady who was given a position of the chief managing officer or the chief executing officer of the company. That is, she touched that C-suite positions. And on the day when she was celebrating her victory of attaining that particular key positions, everyone said, let us have coffee. So she started serving the whole staff on her own. And as a matter of fact, everybody, laughed at her. She became a laughing stock. Why? We have to understand the soft nature of the females and also empower her as far as her decision making is concerned, as far as her decisiveness is concerned, as far as her being tough is concerned. So we have to empower her. First of all, the level of confidence has to be boosted. The level of the overall having this kind of a mindset that no, I will not be able to do. No, you have to develop that feeling, because majorly female herself is responsible for not choosing the key positions. Why? Because she's always afraid that if I take those positions, I will not be able to do any kind of a justice. So this is not done. Once you are into a global scenario, as far as the key leadership positions are concerned, take that position, take those challenges. So, there are few suggestions which are very, very important for every corporate to have. So I would like to salute the Latin American countries, the African countries for taking such good steps as far as increasing the women leadership is concerned. There are some empirical facts, which needs a special mention here. That female is a multitasker. She's always, she's able to do so many, things altogether. So that means what? That we have to respect her multitasking. She's very disciplined. She's more sincere. And there are few empirical studies which prove that if we take women into the corporate leadership positions, there are financial benefits and the spillovers also. So overall, these aspects have to be kept in mind. These aspects have to be, embedded as far as the strategic policy decision making is concerned. She has to be empowered. She has to be given a lot of mentoring and the coaching. Yes, she can do it. So, this kind of an attitude can actually bring the spillover benefits, the financial benefits to the corporate sector also. So just making a few more facts here, because I have been asked to finish my talk in next 2 minutes. So basically, when you talk about the African countries, the ASEAN countries, Eastern Europe, Latin America, Southern Europe, and India. India, I've already spoken about these corporate landscape statistics, that it is always, between about 25 to 30%. Tipping of the female leadership positions, but in India it is very, very less. So we have it's just 5%. So how does it matter? So as far as the acceptance of the female leaders are concerned, it is also very less. We have to accept females as leaders, take her soft nature into the strategic management, and attain the financial benefits spillover also. So keeping these things in mind, there are a few training programs which should be given to the females, some kind of the leadership role, some kind of an examples, the hands-on training, and we have to boost her confidence. And last but not the least, the male counterparts have to support her as far as filling her and future endeavors are concerned, as far as moving ahead in the life is concerned. Because if the males are in the supporting roles, plus if a female becomes more stronger, then of course the journey of the female's leadership will be better, and the corporate landscape, as far as the global perspective is concerned, is definitely going to improve. So it is not that she is less. She is 50% of the population, and the reason for the 50% of the rest of the population. So the respect, the dignity, and the training levels, everything has to be given a big push, and some kind of strategic changes. Like we face a lot of issues as far as the women. At home, she always faces a domestic violence as far as the underprivileged women are concerned. I'm not talking in general about the present corporate world, but yes, since we have, when you talk about India in particular, so many females, a large percentage of the females, they live in a rural sector. So they are always a victim of the domestic violence. And if you talk about the corporate leadership, we have some good number of sexual harassment at workplace. That is some kind of derogatory comments are coming on, which shakes her with, which is not good for the health of the female leadership positions. So that have to be stopped. Some kind of zero tolerance policies must be in place, wherein if some kind of this kind of an incident happens, she is able to report those incidents. Like Me Too movement was there, feminist movement is there. So no tolerance policy should be in place, so that if any male dares to, give a disgrace to a female, she should raise her voice immediately. So keeping all these parameters, I must congratulate, each one of those companies who are putting the females into the leadership positions, giving them the C-suite positions, key roles, and the chief executive officers of the company. So it is definitely going to make a lot of difference, and it is going to make women more and more powerful. So thank you, organizers, for calling me, especially I would like to give my special greetings to Praveen Raniji, who has called me on this dais to share my views. So thank you so much and have a good day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Namita ji, for such valuable words. Our next speaker is Siobhan Douglin from America. I know it's very early morning there. Siobhan Douglin has done her M.Ed and is a CEO and founder of Award Educators. She is an education consultant, scholar, and instructional leader. Welcome, Siobhan. Over to you now.
Thank you, Praveen, and thank you, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Happy Women's Month. And thank you, Dr. Namita. I was listening to what you were saying, and a lot of things actually came to my mind as you were speaking, and I'll touch on them a little bit. I can't think about celebrating Women's History Month and not also think of myself as a Black woman, and thinking about the conditions and the position of Black women in society, in the world. And women and children remain our most vulnerable members of society. And we know because of intersectionality and being part of several marginalized groups all at once as one part of your identity, that women of color and Black women in particular continue to be vulnerable. And we know also that as we are women who are part of marginalized groups, and the more that we stay on these outskirts of these margins in our society, then we're often unprotected, right, and vulnerable. And Dr. Namita spoke about the women in the slums, and that's what also made me think of that, is that, yeah, the further you are on these margins, the more vulnerable you are. So I just want to start by just saying the names of women that come to my mind when I think about are most vulnerable, and I think about women who fall into these groups. And so I think of Breonna Taylor, who was a young Black woman who was gunned down in her home while sleeping by police. I also think of Sandra Bland, who was found murdered or found dead in the police custody after a routine traffic stop. I also think about Andrea Barat from Trinidad and Tobago, who was kidnapped and murdered. And then I also think about, as you pointed out, Dr. Namita, the women who are in the slums and the women who suffer from domestic abuse. So we must attend as a society to our most vulnerable because they are unprotected, they're disrespected. They are members of humanity, and we know that if we attend as a society to those who are the most vulnerable, then it benefits all of us. So I just wanted to start by saying that. I also think of the triumphs, not to be so sad as we start, but I also think of the triumphs for women. Praveen, I like to see you smile. And I think about the fortitude of women, and I think about the beauty and the strength and the nurturing, as some folks have said, the power of women. And I'm encouraged by those things. And fortunately for us, we actually have a long legacy of women before us whose shoulders we all stand on and why we're all here, and who we can look to as examples. In my own life, I'll say that I'm happy to be here on this panel. I'm an educator, like many of you on this panel, but I experienced challenges when educating my own child. And because of that, I actually reevaluated what I wanted for his education and designed his own educational path. And in so doing, I connected with other mothers and other women and other women educators, and created a community of educators who are now responsive to our community. And so that was that's actually the premise of the company that I run and organize. And the company's namesake, which is Avor Educators, is actually named after my grandmother, who was a professor like many of you, and who was also responsive to her community. And I say that to say, similar to the Lord who spoke in the beginning, that is the power of women, right? Is that when we see a challenge, we think critically about it and we respond to it. But in so doing, we actually create a legacy of benefactors and a legacy, a generational legacy of children who grow up to respond to things in a similar way. When I look at the women who've come before us, I do see qualities that are consistent throughout, and I also see qualities that these qualities are blueprints, if you will, of things that we can lean on and think about as women in society decide to chart their own path. And if I may, I have whittled it down to about 4 key things. And these 4 things are that there's an element of critical thinking that is essential. There's also confidence, right? Confidence is also essential to the progress of women in society. Third thing is caring. And I'm going to speak on that because Dr. Namita mentioned it. And we talk about care a lot when speaking of women, but I think oftentimes we speak about it in a way that is limiting. And then lastly, it's community. So it's critical thinking, confidence, care, and community. And I'll say about critical thinking that your ability to look at society and determine with a critical eye that it needs to be examined, that there's something wrong, that there's something that could be better. That is a quality that all women leaders that we have and who have made so much advancements in our society have done. They looked at what they saw and they weren't satisfied with it. And they were okay with deciding what their role was going to be in making a difference. And so I think critical thinking is essential in our advancement as women. The second thing is confidence. And I laugh when I say confidence a lot because, again, it's like one of those things that we say about women, like, oh, you got to be confident. And it gets really placated as something that's not as important or superficial. But we wouldn't be here on this panel, and the leaders that we look to in women leadership wouldn't be where they are if they didn't have the confidence to stand out and speak on the things that they have now become critical of. And so confidence is actually supremely underrated, but it is essential if anything is going to move. And so when women struggle with confidence, sometimes I just want to shake them because your voice needs to be heard. Your voice is essential to the dialogue in order for change to really occur. And so how do you get confidence? I mean, for one, you have to be so sure about who you are. But if you're not so sure about who you are, you have to at least be sure about what angers you, right? Or what you are about, what you won't stand for. I like to say that a lot. Like sometimes you don't know what you agree with, but you know for certain what you don't agree with. And that's a good starting place for anchoring yourself and making noise where there needs to be noise. When it comes to the care, and the Lord kind of touched on it as well. And when I share my story about my son and creating an entire company based off of the premise of what he needed as a child, care is not to be taken lightly. The conditions of society you can do a through line right back to the care and cultivation that was had from the arms of a woman, right? From a mother. And as the Lord said, we create kings and we are the mothers to great leaders. And so So your ability to care and the continuity of the community that you're fashioning in your home has a direct impact on the type of society that we're inevitably to have. And so I don't like to take that lightly. And because we've seen in history when care of a community has gone not in a good way, and I can speak about that too. And then lastly, community. Audre Lorde said it best, that there is no liberation without community. And for anything to really move in society, it's the women and their collective genius and coming together as a community to make things happen. And it makes me think even of this forum, like Praveen, and the work that you're doing, and bringing us all together in this forum as a community is essential. And so yesterday what commemorated Bloody Sunday in the United States. And Bloody Sunday is known as like the series of marches from Selma to Montgomery. During the civil rights movement, folks were fighting for voting rights. Black people were also just fighting for basic human rights. And it's called Bloody Sunday because, you know, the police fought back and people got hurt, and there was, you know, it was a lot of violence. And whenever I think about that day or even that time period, I often think about all of the young people that were involved in those protests and their desire to want to make change at any cost, and the way that they put themselves on the line to create that change. And it's easy to stop right there, but I like to go further because all of those young people had mothers. And so it makes me wonder, what was the care and cultivation and community and you know, what kind of confidence did it take for a mother to be like, okay, my child's gonna go out there and protest, or I'm gonna be with my child and protest because of this thing and because of the need to make this difference. That is the quality of motherhood that is sometimes very overt, sometimes it's very subtle, but it's extremely powerful, because there's nothing that does not move in this world without the hands of and the heart of a woman. I'll also say that, you know, I can think of atrocities in our society as well. And on the other side of the civil rights and the other side of Jim Crow laws were violent acts in communities with lynchings, and the, you know, history shows you families going out to see bodies hanging from trees and celebrating and reveling in probably what was like some of the most darkest times in human society. And yet there were children there too who had mothers as well. And so the point that I'm making is there's a lot of weight that is should be put on this idea of care and continuity and community, and the ways in which women author, for the good or the not so good. They author and they have a direct hand in the way that our society functions. Because we have a lot more power and strength than we know, but that sometimes we fail to lean into and to recognize. So I just wanted to call attention to that. But thank you, Parveen. I would say in closing that, you know, we speak about the women who came before us, and it feels good knowing that we're not the first, that there's a history of women leaders who continue to make gains that benefit all of society. But I'm also happy to know that we're not the last, right? That there will be women after us. There will be many more celebrations of Women's History Month. And there will be much more changes in our society. But with those changes, will definitely need women who understand the power of being critical of the society we live in, having the confidence to stand out and speak against those things, using the power of care and continuity that you have as a mother to fashion the children and the families that we want, and gathering your community to make forward change. And so thank you, Praveen, for having me. And thank you, everyone.
Well said, Siobhan. Confidence is very important thing and it plays a vital role in our life. Thank you so much, Siobhan, for sharing your thoughts with us. Moving on to our next speaker, we have Gail Jackinson. Gail was in a well-paid career in IT. She represented England at karate. At age of 45, she became a single mother of 2 children. Welcome, Gail. It's our honor to have you here, and she's a well-confident woman.
Thank you, Parveen. That's yes. I'm not. To be honest, I'm not feeling so confident at the moment after such illustrious and very clever is the wrong word, but very well informed and clever speakers. So, and I'm actually going to pick up on quite a few bits that those speakers have already mentioned. But I'm going to start off with the poem, and I apologise, it might sound a bit childish, but there is a real reason for this. And the poem is by a British comedian called Spike Milligan. I don't know how many of you will have heard of him, but he was in the same sort of group of comedians as Peter Sellers, who did the Inspector Clouseau Pink Panther movies. And this is the poem. Smiling is infectious. You catch it like the flu. When someone smiled at me today, I started smiling too. I passed around the corner and someone saw my grin. And when he smiled, I realised I'd passed it on to him. I thought about that smile and then I realised its worth. A single smile, just like mine, could travel round the earth. So if you feel a smile begin, don't leave it undetected. Let's start an epidemic quick and get the world infected. So sorry about the relationship to pandemic, but the reason that poem is very much building on what Siobhan said about standing on the shoulders of the people who've gone before and giving them their examples of community to the people who've gone before. It's also Dr. Subramanian, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, mentioned the fact that leaders are seen as role models. So women leaders are seen as role models. And Dr. Namita Rajput said about that we need to bring on other women within business or with any field at all. Because if we don't do it, women better recognise qualities in other women often than men do, because people tend to recognise their own personal qualities in other people and think, oh, they're good, which is why you tend to get, as we all know, you tend to get men recruiting men and so on. So, but the thing for that poem is that smile is infectious. So if you smile at somebody, they often smile back. And then it's like if you let somebody out of a junction when you're driving, further down the road, they let somebody else out of a junction because they're feeling more positive, and community is all about that. It can be just the tiniest little things like smiling at someone, knowing that someone's lonely and giving them a call once a week or whatever it is to brighten hopefully you're going to brighten the day and not make it worse. And all those little things as well as the big things make a difference. If you'll excuse me and indulge me a little, I'll just tell you a little bit about my life. As Praveen said, it's sort of in 2 halves. I started off at school as everybody does, but I was always very academic. In fact, in our circle of friends, I was the cleverest in our little few roads area by far. And that was sort of put on me that I would go on to do stuff in the academic world, and that was always what I wanted to do. And so once I was getting through that, I went to university. I went into a job in IT, and I experienced exactly what was being said before, which was, like I would say something in a meeting and nobody would take any notice. And then a man would say it and everyone would go, oh yes, that's good. Because they weren't listening to the women. And I'm pleased to say that nowadays, although this still does happen, it happens less for the young people. So I like to think, although I was standing on the shoulders of women who'd been before me in the IT business, that women that I then brought on and promoted within that area were able to get the benefit of my seeing what I did and having the confidence themselves. And it took me a while when I was at work to realise that I used to think I was a bit dim sometimes because I'd be completely bamboozled by what people were saying. And it took me a while to get the confidence to realise, actually, it wasn't that I was being bamboozled by what they were saying. It was that they weren't making any sense because they hadn't constructed their argument properly. But it takes an awful lot of confidence to be able to turn around and say, well, actually, no, I don't understand that. Can you tell me it again? And then you start picking it apart and saying, well, I don't understand how you got from this point to that point. Can you explain it? Because people are worried about not being seen as not very bright because they assume that the other person knows what they're talking about. And it's not always the case. Then I just start, when Parveen mentioned about doing the karate, and I represented England as a veteran. I actually sort of got into that by accident because I'd always wanted to do it when I was younger, never had the confidence, and none of my friends wanted to do it. But at this time in my life, I was just getting divorced, and I had a lot of friends who I'd see in the week, but people spent the weekend with their families. And I just saw it advertised and I thought, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to go, I'm going to hate it, and I'm going to come home. Or I'm going to get halfway through, I'll pretend I need to go to the bathroom, and then I'll go home instead. You know, I can always skedaddle and I will never see these people again. And so I just fell into that by accident. And I'm sort of completely opposite of what Lord Ranger mentioned, is that all that I've ever done is seen a bit of a gap and gone and filled it. And from what the point I'm really trying to get across is that sometimes people don't have a big plan. Now, me representing England karate, it might have been a very proud moment for my parents, and it was a very proud moment for me. But it doesn't actually contribute that much to the community, apart from being, people can say, oh, well, you can do that. Probably where I've most contributed to community have been when at the age of 45, I adopted 2 children who had a very difficult start in life. And about 70% of the prison population in the United Kingdom is made up of children who have been in care. And that is just awful. Now, if I can, hopefully what I've done is help to bring up those children in a way that they can therefore contribute to society, or at least not take away from society. And that goes back to the thing about care, standing on the shoulders of the people who've gone before, and generating a cycle of positive involvement in the community. I've done charity work, just started off locally by helping out at the church with lunches. And one of the things I noticed was that a lot of widowed men used to sit together. And so I used to serve them at the table. I used to serve quite a few people at the table, but it was the women. It's funny enough, it's the women that always say, no, it's fine, I can manage. But the men really appreciated it because they missed that bit of care. And so if that lifts their little bit of their day, that's great. As a candidate in the local elections coming up, I've done a lot of phone calls because with the situation being as it is, we haven't been able to door knock or anything like that. And there's now half a dozen people that I call regularly because they're lonely. Now, as a political strategy, it's not a very good one, because the fact that they're lonely means they've got no one to tell that I'm doing this for them. But the difference to them is huge. And it all comes around that every time you lift somebody's day a little bit, it just means that they might think about lifting somebody else's day a little bit. And I fully appreciate that this is not the dynamic talk that the others have given, but that poem about smiling, community spirit is the same thing. Every little thing that you do that's positive, whether it be little, a smile, baking somebody a cake because they're feeling down in the dumps, giving them a phone call, right through to hopefully becoming a local councillor and being able to change a lot of people's lives for the better, whether it's promoting women in work, whether it's just being a shoulder to cry on, or whether it's hopefully revolutionising somebody's life so they've come away from a life where they've not been looked after, where they haven't experienced love, to giving them that love. There is a whole realm of things that we can do. And it depends on the sort of person you are. Some people are cut out for big business, some aren't, whether they're male or whether they're female. Some people find it best to sit behind other people giving support. But if you can do that and improve people's lives directly or indirectly, make them feel a bit happier, the whole of community benefits, because it's a virtuous circle. It's a vicious circle if we're nasty to people or we don't give them opportunities, but it's a virtuous circle when we do. And you can do that by being yourself, believe in yourself, know that your instincts are probably true, and genuinely question anything that you think isn't right. And that's all I've got to say, really. So thank you very much, Paveen. I'm absolutely honoured to have been part of this. And I hope that we can all do a literal, pass on our either literally our smiles around the world or metaphorically our smiles around the world, so that people's days are just that bit better and hopefully part of their lives. Thank you.
I really enjoyed your poem, Gail, and it's true. It doesn't cost anything from our pocket to giving a smile to someone, because it makes a big difference in someone's life. Thank you so much, Gail, for sharing such a wonderful speech with us. Our next speaker for today is Khushbo Tiwari. Khushbo is a legal advisor and the head of the business development and client servicing, which includes business networking, generation, and conversion of leads. Welcome, Khushbo ji.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Parveen, for having me here, for the honor of being a speaker at this wonderful program on International Women's Day, and it feels amazing. It's already surrounded by so many people who are truly inspiring, and looks like I have already learned a lot of things which I'm going to imbibe on my life. So talking about women being the future of the world, it's wonderful to see the change actually happening, with more and more women coming out on the ground and taking a stand and making the world realize their value. So I grew up listening to the stories of women who made a mark for themselves in government, in the performing and fine arts, sports, sometimes industry. Previously, women used to be in one-off leadership roles, say Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, Margaret Thatcher, or one-off international stars, P.T. Usha in athletics and Diana Edulji in cricket. Today, I'm proud to say that women have risen to exemplary achievement that is more consistent in nature. So today we have women stars in badminton, tennis, wrestling, and even gymnastics, and also in industry where women are in leading positions in financial and banking sector, hospitality, legal and accounting services, IT, and even manufacturing sector as well. So in my own sector, in the Indian Institute of Company Secretaries, a lot of female members are coming up and taking the lead role, though they are very few, but their contribution have been, are receiving immense recognition and inspiring new generation of lady company secretary. So I have worked as a company secretary with a power company, and right now I'm working as a freelance consultant with my own consultancy, and being a part of the panel of ICSI, where we evaluate candidates on the basis of their presentation skills before they are awarded with the membership of the institute. I noticed that there are a large number of lady candidates who have cleared these exams and are about to pursue her career. So I can I can see a shift is coming in the form of more and more participation by the women workforce, where earlier it was very less. Majorly, what I think is because of the break women used to take in their career to look after their family and various other reasons. So I'm also one of them. So I'm going to touch the very micro aspect of women empowerment, where me being part of a family where all the support was always there, be it education, be it any other facility, everything. But what I realized was taking a break, you know, while being so ambitious, that had an impact on not just my physical well-being but my mental well-being as well. So this is one thing which which was a concern to me, and maybe other reasons where I see girls are not educated properly. There still is the mindset where girls are brought up in a situation, in an environment where they are shaped to be dependent on the male members of the family. So these are certain things which I can think of which have been holding women back. But and me being a company secretary, so this being a legal advisor, this is my profession. But at the same time, when I went through this phase of my life, where I actually got the test reports and everything done, which showed there's issue with my physical as well as mental well-being. And that was the time I no the first thing I did was I became present to myself and started to read about it, started to get in touch with people, talk with people, and find out the way how to come out of it. And at that point of time, which which is like say 3-4 years ago, I got into meditation, and that really helped me. So that was the time I decided, I should spread this around, because um, uh, I met a lot of people. So we've been doing these workshops online every day. We started it from we started organizing workshops at Indian Institute of Technology in Delhi, and then we went to other corporates offices, and I would meet people, especially ladies, and I realized, which made me really sad. Out of 100 ladies I met, 100 out of 100 were into some or the other mental issue. Not exactly depressed, but yes, definitely that stress I could see. So in that scenario, we started I thought this is the time. If I got something out of it, I should do this for other ladies, not just ladies, everybody together. So we've been doing every day online meditation workshop for all the people. And especially during this pandemic, I got calls from people, messages from people, that how effective it was. But that's a different thing. We were talking about women. So because I have gone through this, I feel this is one big reason for them to, they've been held back. But I can see things are changing now. Women today are more aware, and the society too is evolving and making it much better place for women. And I have seen. So I also was in contact with the Indian Institute of Company Secretaries, where I would talk to them about how we can make place better for women who have taken a break from their career, because we devote equal time to clear these competitive exams and get the membership. So why shouldn't they be given equal opportunity to work and fulfill their dreams? So I saw after this conversation started, and today within a span of 2 years, I can see a huge difference in my organization itself, where I can see options coming up for people for part-time work, or say work from home, or other projects where they can take up projects, do it and submit, and sort of freelance projects. So I can see enlightened organizations from past few years have started to facilitate work from home, which has enabled women to retain their career while simultaneously managing their families. And talking about this pandemic, this has also shown that work from home needn't be an ad hoc feature, but can work very well permanently if sufficient thought is given to it. So moreover, it has given impetus to a gig economy, where short-term contracts and freelance work give more options to women to work from home. And another useful option could be for companies to actively encourage ladies with work experience who have taken a break from their career to return to full-time work. Because I met a lady a couple of days ago. She was a vice president in the IT sector, and now she's willing to get back to work, and finding no opportunity. So it's sad. So companies should get into it, and maybe further there should be collective action by women for women in this area, and maybe each industry association and organization should promote this by having separate cell as part of their human resource function to invite, train and retrain women to re-enter the workforce. So as more and more women take up leadership roles, re-enter in workforce, and work towards the success of their organization, we would have more representative corporate leadership that more accurately reflects the immense work that women puts into the economy. So, with more women, an organization can have a better and diverse workforce. Women being a good listener and empathetic leader can lead the organization from better business success to a better work culture, better work-life balance in this era of immense physical and mental stress. So I can see the world in future is really, really bright, where most of the women are coming up, taking their responsibility, and the society is coming up to support them in their support. And before I end my speech here, I want to mention that if we want to see the change, we have to be the change. Start working on yourself. If before going and helping others, we should be working on ourselves. And first, be aware of yourself. Read about it, talk to people. There's no harm. More you talk, more you get options to come out of your problem, because that's what I did. And I really want to thank Parveen for giving me this opportunity where I can share what I went through and how things are changing around me, how this process helped me change, and how, in a very random way, I started this workshop, online meditation workshop, and people have been joining in, and these workshops are absolutely free of cost. So seeing change happening in each single lady, and including men, and children, we have students also. So that gives me immense pleasure. So be the change, work in yourself, and be so inspiring that people come to you and ask what makes you like this, and they want to change themselves. And maybe this is how one day slowly the whole world is going to change, and the future is really, really bright. So thank you so much again, organizers, and Ms. Parveen especially, for this opportunity and connecting me with so many wonderful people here. And it's been an evening of learning, and I'm going there's so many takeaways that I got from this session. So thank you again, and happy Women's Day. Maybe not happy Women's Year, celebrate every day. So thank you so much. I'll take a leave now.
Thank you, Khushbu, for such kind words. Moving on to our last speaker today, Dr. Monica Lauer. Dr. Monica Lauer, she is an assistant professor in geography in University of Delhi. She is also the convener of Gender Sensitization and Development Committee of the college. She has written plenty articles in books on gender and environment. Welcome, Monica ji. You are on mute.
It's indeed a pleasure to be among such esteemed gathering. First of all, let me wish everybody a very happy Women's Day. As you know, I come from a country called India, and I'll say a quote in Sanskrit, which goes on like this. Yatra narestu pujante, tatra ramante devta. They say, wherever a woman is worshipped, there the gods reside. Indeed, it is a day of celebration of women, of cherishing the woman, and of celebrating so many achievements which a woman does in her lifetime. She has care, compassion, commitment. She is sensitive, but indeed, a woman does have a lot of strength also. She's a believer, she's a doer, she's an achiever, and she is a woman. And that's she is you. So, what a wonderful occasion the International Women's Club has come up to celebrate the women throughout the world. She is called the Mother Earth. She is called the nurturer. She cares for everybody in the family. But who cares for her? That is a big question we need to ask if we want to build a future, a bright future for the women of the world. We need to start from our homes, our families. Education is a very powerful tool to empower a woman, but combined with it, it is employment. But the biggest challenge which I see in a woman's life is to voice her opinion, is to share her thoughts, how far she can go, how far she can achieve in her personal and whatever career she has thought of. So no woman can succeed alone. Powerful women help other women in coming up, in achieving what they want to achieve. We need to develop a culture that values and respects women and looks up and idolizes women as much as men. There has been a lot of men leaders in the world, but very few women leaders. But during this pandemic COVID-19, we have seen it is the countries that have been leading by women leaders. They have tried to uh, least conquer this pandemic, the least number of cases of COVID-19, countries like New Zealand. So we need to learn how a woman works. She can work from home, she can work with home, and she can work for home. This pandemic has taught us, me, myself, a teacher, I have been teaching face to face for the past 2 decades. But this pandemic has taught me online teaching. And now we are having this online webinar. So I think we women are very flexible. We can change according to the circumstances. So let us make all this our strength. Let us overcome our weaknesses. There's a lot of times I see young girls being scared. The concept of fear is in our minds that has been, imbibed in how many generations, I don't know. So we have to make our girls fearless. We have to give them some kind of, physical uh, training to how to protect themselves, how to empower themselves. So it's just not education which is theoretical, but we need to give them practical education also. We need to make them learn some physical tactics to make them physically and mentally strong to handle the challenges of the world. And indeed, An empowered woman empowers other women. There's something special about a woman who lives in a man's world. It takes a certain grace, strength, intelligence, and fearlessness and the nerves to go ahead in this world. I quote Mother Teresa: I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the water to create many ripples. So, all the women of the world have to come together. We have to join hands in uplifting other women. We have to pave the road. We have to clear the path for other women. So we have to uplift a lot of other women who are underprivileged, who are uneducated, who are not so much enlightened also. So on this Women's Day, let us take a pledge to at least make a life of another woman better, make this world a better place to live. And for the future generation, let's leave a good place for women where there is a lot of safety and security for her. Let's make this world a more happier and a more healthier world for the women in the future. Thank you all.
Thank you, Monica ji, for your valuable words. And once again, I would like to thank each and everyone on behalf of International Women Club for their outstanding and informative speeches. I'm sure we have all learned from each other today. And once again, I want to thank each and everyone and happy International Women's Day.